Well, we will not go ahead and approve prior minutes. We'll wait until we do have a quorum to do that. So we'll go ahead and jump on in. I just wanted to check in and say thank you for moving the meeting time. Now that the semester has begun, my teaching schedule and academic schedule is a little bit different. So just had a conflicting meeting on every other Thursday. So we bumped this out a week further, and I think the rotation should be okay. I don't think we heard any dissent. So thank you for your flexibility. I appreciate that.
So John, he said Tuesdays. Did he mean Thursdays?
I hope so. Good question.
Do you know, Will?
I don't, Ms. Evans. I assumed he meant Thursdays, but honestly, like, good catch. I didn't even notice that.
Because I sent him an email back and was like, "Do you mean Thursdays?"
Okay. I won't bombard him with a follow-up email then, but yeah.
Yep, because I did send him that email to see if that was the case, and like, I mean, we are kind of coming to a close on these, right? And so what is the list that we have left of things that the other groups are like? I'm just trying to figure out, like, is it worth moving to keep John coming? Or do we just have a couple of things left to go over and like we're good, or do we need to drop John so we have a quorum? Like,
good question. And one thing I'll throw in there that I wanted to finish out here is I'm actually going to propose, if the group is okay, that we would keep the meetings limited to about an hour, just because I do have class right after this, and I don't know about you, but I usually feel like after a good hour of analysis work, like my brain's usually ready for a break anyway. So if everyone's okay with that, I'd say maybe we stay where we're at. But in terms of work, here's a few things that come to mind for me. One of the other chairs had said if there's anything we could do with domestic abuse, that would be helpful if we could put some graphics together based on the data. I think that we've still got a little work from the data set 4 that we were working on last time, and Will has done some preparatory work, so I think that should go relatively fast as well. And then I think we've still got a few data sets from DHS that we were looking for, correct? Kind of like in terms of timeline and such, that we might want to look at. Does that sound correct to everyone else?
So the one thing that is coming up in whichever group is working on it, my brain is what it is. But
well, if it helps, I know that disqualification is working on misdemeanor crimes and remedies is working on permanent bars. So I don't know if that's where you were going, but
yep. So I think we're getting done with permanent bars, but we're like moving on to process.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm not sure, like, what that looks like for us in data analysis, but I think, like I want to make sure that we talk about that. Like, I don't know, we haven't gotten a ton of information from DHS on that, but like, what would data look like to support the fact that, is it just the data itself that, they did 750,000 requests, or is it, timelines for how long do we have an average of how long it's taking folks to get set-asides back from them? Like, what is the data is there data we need to request from them, or is there nuances of the data that we have, from the set-aside data to speak to process a little bit? Like, I would like to just maybe brainstorm that a little bit. Like, is there nuances of the data that we have that speak to process?
Yeah, I think that's go ahead, Mr. Vogel.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. And sort of by way of answering Ms. Evans' question, or at least like some background information, we have placed a request for some data on timelines, which I think gets to process. and I'm sharing the text of that request right now. And I haven't received word on any definitive timeline for the timeline data, but as far as I'm aware, the department has received this request and is working on it.
And when did we send it? Can we follow up to see like where we're at on it, or if they have if they have a estimated?
Yes, Ms. Evans, I'll follow up on that. It was originally placed back in January, but as you're aware, we placed a lot of data requests back then. So
yeah, so just maybe give them a little bump reminder that we're looking for it now, like it's time.
Will do.
And then Gina, my thought on that is I think what's going to be probably most helpful to me is to see what we get from DHS based on the requests we made. And I think I imagine some of our questions may be answered there, and then seeing what they have might trigger additional questions for us once we see, that particular report. So, but I feel like that'll be the last big chunk for us to take a look at together. So I think that's what I have on my radar. Do others have? Oh, the one other thing I think that I don't want to forget is I think we still want to do a state by state map of who's using POE and such. And I can't remember, there was someone who was working on pulling that together, and I don't know where that landed. And then I had offered to put it into a graphic form once we kind of have the list. So
was it Josh's guy or John's guy? One of the two.
It was one of the two. Yeah. So
and I believe that work is supposed to be done by the end of the summer term. So I'll follow up on that as well, and we'll hopefully have some of that research together pretty soon.
Well, let's
map. There's a great map app.
Yeah.
That color codes that I use for a county thing that I did for Teen Challenge that will color code stuff.
Yep. So I think that might be this. I can't remember. They all sound the same to me. I know there's a lot of different tools out there, but I feel like they're easy to come by. So that's kind of what I was hoping to do, so we could have some graphic representation there. And then I'll say probably the final thing on top of that, and I was just actually chatting with Mr. Vogel about this. At some point, I think we need to go back through all of the data we've analyzed, all the tables, all the charts, and just make sure they're in a good logical order, so we have everything wrapped up. So anyone who's doing the report writing or anything like that, any presentations, Miss Evans, that we need to put together or whatnot, we've just got it all laid out in a logical sort of format moving forward. So yeah, I think we've got work to do. I'm also not feeling terribly overwhelmed by the work that we have to do. I think it's reasonable. I think it's all doable. And I do want to jump back to your question, Ms. Evans. Do you think we need to move to a different day to keep Chair Geffen?
So I feel like we need to either keep him engaged if he meant Thursday instead of Tuesday, or remove him so that we have a quorum. And then the one final thing I just want to talk about here is so the thing that the chair of the data committee,
Williamson?
Chair Williamson.
Chair Williamson, she has mentioned, and we've asked her to kind of wait till the end of things to talk about the accountability piece for DHS. And I just want to make sure that we are not forgetting about that.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that looks like for us in data analysis, as far, if we don't have that data really to look at, or what, I don't know that it's a data analysis thing, but I just want to make sure that we're honoring her. And so I just want to bring that up as we're getting to the end of stuff. Like, what does that look like for us to talk about, whatever discretionary stuff, whatever discretionary areas that DHS has, like, is there places in there that there's checks and balances for folks that that they're not holding one group to one standard and other groups to another standard, and how are we making sure that that's not taking place? And so I want to honor Deshonda, and that we told her to hold off on that, and then that I want to make sure that we talk about it.
Yeah. So, do you think that's our committee, Gina? Do you think where?
I don't know. If we don't have data to analyze, then no, it's not us.
Right.
But I'm going to bring it up in every committee because I promised that I would.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I agree. I just want to make sure we're doing what we're doing, and I'm with you. Like, if there's data to analyze, I think, yep, we'll take it on. And if not, well, still as a full task force, we need to make sure we're accountable to that. So thank you. Good conversation. Anything else before we jump into playing with some data today? Well, let's jump in that virtual sandbox and get to work. I am going to pull up the document we most recently worked on, and I will share it with you all. Actually, I'm going to take it out of display mode. I was putting it in display mode, but I think we're going to want to work on it. So we're just going to leave it there. So I am going to share my screen. Hopefully this will appear. I'm seeing, yes, thank you. So where we had left off with data set 4 is we had been looking at our kind of analysis of 7-year disqualifications, 10-year disqualifications. We were really taking a look at, a top 10 list if it existed for each of those. We were looking at 2018 and 2019. That was our comparison. And we ran out of time before we got to, well, the 15-year disqualifications. So I am going to drag this out of the way here and pull up an email. And oh my goodness, everything's opening up on the screen that I don't want it to open up on. So I apologize. So I would like to finish this out today. Does everyone okay with that? So, okay. And Mr. Vogel, I'll ask for your help in particular because you have been our spreadsheet person. So thank you so much for doing that. So here we are in 15-year disqualification analysis. So again, what we really want to get at here is really our top 10 reconsideration requests by type. So Mr. Vogel, this would be in the spreadsheet you sent me today as well.
It would be, Mr. Chair, and I think you'll want to look for the tab 15-year top 10, because that's not an opaque title at all. It should be in relatively bright orange.
Well, I'm wondering if I opened up the wrong spreadsheet, because
it kind of looks like you did. Yeah, that just had
I did.
Let me send you a new copy of the one I was working on, actually.
Thank you.
Yep. Come on. There we go.
Oh yeah, that wasn't the right one. How did I?
I mean, they're very similar names. I just threw Scratch onto this one, which probably wasn't appropriate because it's actually a useful working document.
Well, I had just done a search for your name in my email, and I opened up the one that popped up on top, which is apparently when I opened up multiple times, because Outlook told me that was the one to open up, and it was from August 9th, so it was not the right one to open up. So, okay, here we go. So table 3, it appears, is the one we're looking for, correct?
Table 2, well, actually, let me show you.
Table 3, 2018 15-year disqualification. So like you say, the very bright orange.
Yes, but actually you'll want to go over a little bit to the right, because on 15-year top 10, which is the other bright orange one, I sort of pull together both tables versions of table 3 for 2018 and 2019, if that makes sense.
Okay, I just need to scroll further over. Thank you.
Yep.
15-year top 10. There it is. Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so our top 10, I would format this the same way. Yep, is our top 10 in 2018 is. It looks like we've got a top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Does that sound right?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Below that, we're just looking at less than 10s for 2018.
So I'm going to populate this and hopefully it looks correct.
That matches what I'm seeing on my spreadsheet, Mr. Chair.
Well, that's good news then. That is good news. So
Oh, I should note, Mr. Chair, the percentage of total figures are wrong for both of the tables. I think we copied those over.
yeah. So can we go ahead and generate those new numbers?
Yep. 603 for 2018 and 1170 for 2019.
1170.
70.
Thank you.
Yep.
Knock on. Okay.
And then, yeah, I guess do we just want to do the expedient of me reading you off the data?
Well, I wonder if I can paste it in because this would be the 183, the 72.
Yeah.
That right?
Yeah.
And I just want to remember how we did this before, and then we'll have to calculate.
Yeah, I have those calculated, so those I might just want to read off.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and do that?
All right, 30% for CSC fifth degree, 12% for theft, 11% felony driving while impaired, 9% CSC first degree, 9% CSC third degree, 6% CSC second degree, 4% burglary, 3% check forgery, and 2% terroristic threats.
Does that look correct?
It does, Mr. Chair.
119964.
Oh, and for the other members, you should be seeing a version of the spreadsheet in your email, but please let me know if I sent you the wrong one or something like this.
Okay, and then the number determined eligible to work. I should just be able to pull this over. Please work. There we go. Oh, will you make things easy? Thank you. This is
No problem, Mr. Chair. I don't make them too easy. I hide them in like 15 different tabs.
okay. We're going to get rid of that row. And then we're going to carry over these percentages. Well, that did not work out.
It did not. Control Shift V, maybe?
There we go.
Ah, that unknown was screwing us up, I guess.
We'll do that. Okay.
All right.
So then let's take a look at 2019, get it in here, and then we can take a look at it from a higher level view.
Mm-hmm. And I'll note we don't know precisely what the percentage of eligible to work for. Oh, sorry, that's not terroristic threats. Oh, yeah, that is terroristic threats. Never mind. I'm sorry. We don't know precisely what that eligible to work is. And I was looking at the wrong thing, so never mind. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Good deal. Good deal.
Thought we were dealing with the maltreatment, but that would be a 7-year.
And
all right, and here come the percentages.
okay, give me just a second.
No worries.
Okay,
And so you got that one. Theft is 7%. CSC first degree, 4%. CSC third degree, 4%. Felony driving while impaired, 4%. CSC second degree, 3%. Burglary, 2%. Wrongfully obtaining assistance, 2%. That's a tongue twister. Check forgery, 1%. And financial transaction card fraud, 1%.
awesome.
Perfect.
Yay. So let's see, just make sure we formatted it as we did the prior ones. Everything looks good here. So just looking at 15 years. And it's looking from year to year. So controlled substances, CSCs, both tops for 18 and 19 for 15 year. Theft stays the same. Felony driving was number 3 here. And I'm just wondering if it would have made sense to number these, if that makes any sense, but I think we're okay without them. I mean, unless people really think we need this, since they're a top 10 or top 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I could probably relabel this 9. Top 8. Okay, perfect. Anything else anyone is seeing interesting regarding the 15-year disqualifications? I guess I'm not terribly surprised about the top reconsideration requests being, criminal controlled substance crimes. Not a big change there. Yeah. Terroristic threats showed up in 2018, but not 2019.
Mr. Chair, if I might,
Yeah.
make a suggestion.
Yeah.
I don't think Ms. Evans or Ms. Robertis have seen the earlier years as well. So for like a high level picture, you might want to have them, think about those as well. So, sorry, not to tell you what to do. Members.
You're good. You're good. Okay, so would you like to go back and take a look at 7-year and 10-year then?
Yeah, let's just take a peek at them.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So this is the 7-year disqualification analysis looking at 2018 and 2019. So our tops here in 7-year disqualifications were theft, followed by domestic assault. And in these, we're seeing those, percentage of those that did request reconsiderations, 73%, 63%, were deemed, eligible to work through the reconsideration request. So
There's a good, so issuance of dishonored checks, 96% of them are determined eligible to work. Let's get rid of that. Like, if that's not data that shows that that should not be on there at all, I don't know what else does.
Yeah,
right?
look at even the prior year, 89%.
Like, I feel like looking at any of that stuff where the determined eligible to work, any of that stuff that's up in them high 80s, like, I feel like that's 80, 80s and 90s. Like, I feel like that's just evidence of,
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. So how do we carry that forward? Probably when we come back and relook at this again, we make a strong suggestion to the task force that these are ones we definitely want to propose be.
well, I think it's just when we present it to when we put it in the report, like we're making those recommendations, I think. And then these data points are just evidence to that, right?
Right. That makes sense.
One other thing that stands out to me, Mr. Chair, is domestic assault has a relatively high eligibility to work rate, 81% in 2018 and 73% in 2019.
Yeah.
Now, to be very fair, those are percentages of the people who request a reconsideration in the first place, not the total DQs.
Right.
But that might be relevant data for the domestic assault piece for Chair Dawson.
Yeah.
Because they have some of them, like even serious maltreatment of a minor, only 8% of them even ask for a set aside, right? That's what that percentage is.
Right.
No, Ms. Evans,
Well,
sorry,
no.
that's a bit unclear, sorry. The percentage there is what percentage the total. So the 8% of serious maltreatment of a minor means that's 8% of the total reconsideration requests in that year. So essentially what we're doing is showing how significant these crimes or conduct are. So theft, for example, represents about a third of reconsideration requests for a 7-year DQ in that year.
Oh,
And then
got
we
it.
get down to, say, Domestic Abuse Act, that's 2% of recon
Oh,
requests.
those numbers are very confusing.
Okay.
That's
helpful
good.
feedback.
So let's think about how we.
I don't think those numbers are necessary. Tell me why that's important. The number of so there was, let's just say 1,600 to round up. So there was 1,600 reconsideration requests in 2018.
Yes.
For a 7-year DQ.
Should we put that on the top and just say that there was 1,600 reconsideration requests in 2018 instead of having it be so that it's very obvious that that is what that indicates? And then because I thought this was like, the 31% had to do with, it's confusing. It's not clear.
Okay.
You do make an excellent point though, Ms. Evans.
Yeah.
I mean, it's helpful feedback generally, but also that it might be, just a moment, sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm poking into the previous data sets to see if we could make that calculation. Let's see here.
So this percentage is 73% of the.
Yeah. So basically, if we're looking at theft here, what we'd say is in 2018, out of the 1,578, reconsideration requests that were made, 31% of those were theft. So, a big chunk of reconsideration requests for that year were related to were theft. So then when we take a look more specifically at theft, of those, 482 people who, made reconsideration requests, well, 353 of those 482 were determined eligible to work, meaning 73% of them were. Does that make sense?
Yep. I just feel like maybe that number, it should be theft. Theft is 31%. So maybe it should go next to the name of it. And then the numbers, like how many.
See, I think our struggle was when we were working on this, Ms. Evans, is, we first started with raw number, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like going, of those 1,578, 482, were theft, it's the biggest one. And I think the question was like, well, what percentage is that? So we tried to find a way to insert it, but maybe it is overkill. Maybe we don't need the percent. Like, what do you think is more helpful, the 482 or the 31%? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that makes it the top 10, right?
Yes.
Top 10
yes.
of reconsideration requests.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, basically the only point I walk away with that from, Ms. Evans, is this is a very representative slice of the 7-year DQs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. I feel like we need to maybe just explain it a little.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Although
but-
the version of those percentages you thought they were, Ms. Evans, I'm pretty sure we could calculate that. We could bring in data from data set 3 and look at, say, the total number of theft DQs and compare that to the number of theft recons.
Yep. Yeah, because I was thinking, like, even especially on these more serious ones, right? Serious maltreatment of a minor. You know,
Mhm.
we're doing that work right now in disqualification or one of the two.
Yeah.
And so, like, how many were there? How many disqualifications for?
Serious maltreatment of a minor. In
Yep.
2018, it was 255.
And so,
So that's 255 or
119 out of 255, right?
190. Yeah, one. So extremely roughly like 45% requested recon. Just doing the math in my head.
Yeah.
Let's see.
46.7, or I may have heard the numbers.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chair, if I might make a suggestion.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just talking for me and saying I really like Ms. Evans' initial idea, but I don't know about you. If you were interested in having work done on that, though, I could just do it behind the scenes after this meeting, as opposed to me just sitting here poring over a spreadsheet.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me how that benefits us, though, to have that just on these top 10, some kind of thing that tells us like how many were, like, in each category, how many were disqualified for theft, how many asked for the set aside, and then how many were determined eligible to work. Like, how does that piece of information in for each of the top 10, how does that benefit us? What does that show?
Well, I think, one thing for me that would be interesting, based on, what you're asking for is, how common is it for someone who gets a theft charge to ask for a reconsideration? Based on what we have, we don't really know. We know a majority, I should say a majority. We know that the largest likelihood of people to request a reconsideration for 7 years, the 7 years qualifications are theft crimes,
Yep.
That's what we know. But
how common is the crime? How common is the disqualification, and then how common is the set aside, right? It would be all three of those data points together.
I'm with you. Integrating that final piece, I think, would be helpful, because it just doesn't let us know how common it is. Yeah, it lets us know how common within the group it is to request. And I think there's some utility to that.
Maybe see some patterns in that, right?
Yeah, we could. I mean, I still think the big takeaway for me is, though, it'll be interesting, because maybe theft, while it's the biggest, let's say, while it's the most commonly requested for reconsideration, it'd be interesting to go back and go, well, maybe in the grand scheme of things, this is really significant, because there's not that many thefts to be, disqualifications to begin with, or maybe there's a whole big bunch. We don't know that based on what we have. So
Mr. Chair, we actually do.
Do we not from this table, though?
Yeah, not from this table.
No.
Yeah,
we have the data.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we have it, and I think it would be interesting to see it. Yeah. So
yeah, sorry.
You're good. So
I keep trying to click on stuff on here. It's not mine.
So Mr. Vogel, would you be willing? You're willing to pull that together, and then we could easily, populate that next time around. So
definitely, Mr. Chair. And in fact, just doing the trial run for that, the 2018 7-year DQs, I do see some interesting patterns. Only 16% of theft DQs requested reconsideration in the first place, as opposed to 94% of serious maltreatment of a vulnerable adult DQs. And otherwise, the numbers are up and down. There's some 40s, and there's a lot of teens and 20s.
Now that'll be interesting, because then we kind of have to ask the question: what, do fewer people who get this particular, this type of disqualification do it because they just assume, well, no one's gonna overturn that, or like what's, we won't know this, but we can start to wonder
Yep.
why,
Yep.
So yeah, Mr. Vogel, if you're willing to put that together, I think that would be fantastic.
Absolutely.
And then we can work on trying to figure out how to make that look the best. So it'll be a lot of data, so we'll have to just be thoughtful about labeling it well so that, whoever's reading it can make sense of it. So
Yeah. I'll play around with it, Mr. Chair, and see if I see any interesting patterns.
thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So just
Good work,
taking a look
guys.
at 10 year again, what we're seeing at the top is theft. Most common type of reconsideration request.
That's so weird that it went up in 2019. That's a weird, because everything like the, oh no, just the number did, not the percentage. Forget I said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dishonored check. Get rid of that.
So in a sense, I guess, yeah, that's the one useful piece I can see about these percentages right now. It lets us sort of compare apples to apples, even though the absolute numbers get bigger, but
Yeah.
that's not that important.
Why is theft on there twice?
Is it? Oh, sorry, let me check that.
Uh-oh, what did we do?
Oh boy.
Oh, it is
It's the same
well,
number. You just have it on there twice. So
Yeah, that bottom one should be assault in the 4th degree. I don't know why we
okay.
why we did that.
You want to read me off the number, Will? Good catch. Good
Yep.
chat.
It's 13 or
609 dot.
oh yeah, the 609.2231 assault in the 4th degree, and in parentheses vulnerable adults, peace officers, transit drivers, etc. Close parentheses. We can just put assault in 4th degree. I think we're fine with that, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
And then the numbers are all right.
No, it's actually 13 cases in that year, fewer than 10 of which were eligible to work. So we don't know
what's the percentage, the 13 out of 422?
That's 3%.
Oh, 3%. Thank you.
Yep. Oof. Good catch, Ms. Evans.
Yeah. And then this, you said, is a less than 10?
Yep.
And then this should be a
Unknown. Yep.
Unknown. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Don't forget to hit save.
Perfect. We should be good. Okay. And then you'll see here the big shift, in 7 years and 10 years, theft is number 1. But when we move to 15 years, it's been bumped out of that number 1 spot by controlled substances.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The amount that are ultimately determined eligible to work is not incredibly high, 63% and 58% by year. But
yeah, it's very interesting that at first I was like, whoa, but when you look at the number of cases that it is, like when you're looking at first, second, and third the degrees, right? That like second degree possession by percentage actually gets set aside more, determined eligible to work more often. When we use that terminology though, determined eligible to work compared to like set aside, when we're lumping them all together, it changes it. So
would that be due to variances being relatively high?
So not necessarily. There aren't a lot of variances that like that. That's just not a thing that like employers take the time to do very often. But there's some other ways that they do it, like, prior set aside is a category that was in there and some of that other stuff. And so when we lumped them all together, I think it increased those numbers, not substantially, but some. So
Can't think of.
If you go back and look at the original chart, the like actual set aside number was just part of that.
Well, anything else you're seeing with 15-year disqualification?
Nope.
Yeah, I think adding in the additional column will be good. I think that will be helpful to pull it all together. Yeah. Okay. Well, we are at 1:43 p.m. I'd ask, do we want to jump into something else? Is this a good breaking point? Because I need to be somewhere else at the top of the hour. So we'd have time to do a little more work somewhere else, or else we could also call it a day. What are your thoughts?
So what is the next thing that we're going to work on, and then we can decide what is
Yep.
the next like important thing?
I think the next important thing, I think I would like to take a look at some data regarding domestic abuse. And Mr. Vogel and I were just chatting quickly before we came on that we might, I think there's probably a little something we can pull together in terms of domestic abuse, but I think that would be the next thing.
Okay, and that's a whole brand new thing that we'll
That
have to
would be
get
a-
started on.
Yeah,
And
and we'd
I don't
actually
know.
probably be going back to data set 3, I think, is that what, yeah, data set 3 to pull some data.
So we could maybe take a peek at it and get an idea of like what like the format of what we're gonna do is, and then
Yeah,
take
let's
it up
do
next
that.
time. Yep.
Mr. Vogel, can I ask you, do you happen to have data set 3 handy? And
I do, Mr. Chair, just a moment.
Yeah.
Let's see, I'll pull up the spreadsheet version. Sharing screen. That one. So let's see. All right. So as a suggestion, this is table 6, I'm sorry. We could use no, we can't. We could use
Table
table
six.
6. Yeah. Table 6 to look at the evidentiary standards that were used to make the domestic
Yeah.
assault determinations, which is a relatively large amount of POE. Wait. Oh, wait, that's higher level domestic assault. Actually,
Yep, so
let me-
you gotta go
let me pull
down
up-
to misdemeanor.
Yep.
So you just gotta scroll down to 7-year.
Yep.
Because they're
Actually,
mostly
let me
misdemeanor.
share a different spreadsheet. I've got table 6 broken down in one spreadsheet, and that'll be a lot easier. Okay, so 7-year DQs, domestic assault, yeah. So I've got the percentages of the evidentiary standards used. Let's see, it's
Let's
come
start with the raw numbers though first.
oh, yeah, certainly.
Yep.
So yeah, we see 24 adjudicated delinquent, 167 admission, 312 convictions, and 359 POE determinations, for a total of
Look at all them
862.
POEs.
Yeah, yeah, no, domestic assault, like this data bears out what I've heard from people from the department, that domestic assault is the principal use of POE at present.
Yeah. So we're talking about 862 cases. And what is the
In total.
2000?
In 2019, just a moment, also the second highest DQ for that year.
1343.
Yeah, of which, sorry, there we go, of which 464 were POE determinations. So I think the percentage went down that year.
So we would do maybe 2 pie charts and then just scroll over a little bit back to the evidentiary standards. And then we would maybe just do adjudicated delinquent, admission, leave Alford plea off. I think they were both less than 10, and then convicted and POE like that, and show. Is that what you're looking for?
I think so. I think we're just gonna have to start putting something out there and kind of go, do we like that? but I think what we're trying to show is the significance of how many domestic assaults are
Our preponderance of evidence.
POE. Yeah.
Yep. And so that would be the two, I think you're like dead on about that, and we could start working on it or do it next time, whichever, but I think those are the two big points, right? We're keeping all these people from working based on a preponderance of evidence, right? Here's a bunch of them. And then here's the map of the United States, and we are the only purple state in this sea of blue and green states that use it only for maltreatment or don't use it at all, right? That's the data. That's
Right.
the points, right?
Yeah.
I think,
So-
yes, I think so. And we just want to have, I think we hear people saying that, but I think our job is to try to take the data and put it in a visual way that makes it
Yep.
easy for people to say, let me show you. And,
Yep.
and that'll be our goal.
So I think that will be good. We can take it up there next time and do 2 pie charts on the domestic assault stuff and get you to your meeting on time.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, let's plan that for next time around. Thanks again, always, I enjoy, again, can't emphasize enough having multiple people look at it because, Gina, you caught an error and we need multiple people looking, and that helps us to make it better. And also just calling out, like going, this doesn't quite make sense. And I agree with you. I think other people looking at it might have read it the same way. So let's fix that and let's add a little bit so it's useful and again easy to understand. So
Yep.
that will be our goal next time. Mr. Vogel, if you can have those additional spreadsheets ready, we'll do that. And we'll also focus on working on a little bit of data display regarding what we're looking at here in data set 3. Sound good?
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good to see you all. Take care.